Welcome back to the channel. Been a couple of weeks off, but we're back, and we're back for the best time of the year. Callum, happy Christmas to you. Best time of the year, of course, for football fans. Loads of games on, and I suppose a massive game on Sunday. And I can't remember too often where we've all been out at Christmas and Spurs is playing Liverpool. So something different this year. It was Liverpool Arsenal last year, but this year it's Spurs and Liverpool. It does tend to involve Liverpool. You always seem to have a tough game before Christmas Day.
I was there last year at Anfield, the Arsenal game as well, and I flew home Christmas Eve, so I think they must send their Liverpool around that game on a Sunday. But I had the best time of the year. Football's flat out now, off for work at 5 o'clock, so that's us now for a few weeks.
That's it. I'm the same. I do you know what? When I was thinking of the title for this video, I don't think you could meet two more opposite teams than Spurs and Liverpool at the moment. I mean, Spurs are very chaotic, they're very erratic, and Liverpool are very calm, cool, calculated. And we seen that last week in the 10 men too. They never panicked, and they found their way back into the game. Whereas if that was Spurs, they probably would have been run ragged. Or equally, if they had been playing the 10 men, they might have got themselves reduced there, man. You just don't know what they expect with Spurs. And before we sort of look into the game on Sunday, Callum, I think we have to reflect on last night because it was a really, it probably summed up Spurs more than Man United. But what was your thoughts on the game? Because Spurs were cruising at 3-0, and of course they pressed the self-destruct button.
I only really seen like the second half of it. I had to watch the highlights and they kind of get the full most of the picture. But it's just classic Spurs because you go 3-0 up, and the last time I watched Spurs no property the full 90 minutes was against the Chelsea game, and when was it 2-0 up? He went 2-0 up. I was sitting in the middle going, I don't fancy him to hold on it at all. Like there's no kind of whenever it's 2-0 or 3-0, there's no discipline at all. There's no kind of let's drop 5 yards. And Carragher was saying last night and kind of just take hold of the game. It's always just gun ho no matter what. In 95th minute, you're still 5-6 men forward if need be, even if you're only a goal ahead, like he's were last night. But it's just it's just Spurs. I don't know what else they say. It's kind of just as Anne said last night. Are you not entertained? Do you know what I mean? That's just.
Well, why do you think this happens so often? I mean, I know they are very chaotic at the moment, but all our managers have seen results like these in the past. They've been 2-0 up and they've lost or they've drawn. You think back to the time they were 3-0 up against Man United back in 2001 and lost the game 5-3. Just seem to have these mad results seem to throw up more so now than ever, of course, because of the style of play. But, going back to our managers who weren't as chaotic as Ange, a different set of players. Is there like I don't say a curse, but do you think it's in their heads when they're wearing that Spurs shirt that they're attached to the history of the club?
I think they kind of touch on that there. I think I don't know if we've seen Carragher before the match. I think he was saying like whenever the Champions League final, it was like when you go up against Spurs, you're going that look, the final's done, it's ours, because no one expects Spurs they won, and no one expects Spurs they go and do great things. They always like each could be 4-0 up and people will go but they might go for each. Like there's no expectation with Spurs at all, which is kind of good for users as well. But I mean, from my lifetime watching Spurs, it's always just been the same thing. It's like they might get close, but they're never there. They're never get over the line, and they're always kind of not a laughing stock, but you never expect them. They do great things. Like
I think they're gonna take that entertainers tag off Kevin Keegan's Newcastle where they're going at the moment, because these games they're serving up at the moment are absolutely mad. They be involved in 2-4-3s and a week apart is mad. They've scored 12 goals in their last 3 games and domestically against Chelsea, Southampton and Man United, and we're still sitting here scratching our heads. But of course, it would have been worse last night had they have blown it completely and went out of the cup. I'm not sure how they could have recovered from that, to be honest, but they did find a way to win. And they meet Liverpool now in the semi-final. Despite the draw, Callum, there's strong teams left in it, so you're always going to have a hard opponent if you're Spurs anyway. But, do you feel this is their best opportunity to win a trophy because they're at the semi-final stage? Can you see them going through all them European ties with a sort of, inconsistency from sort of 10 minutes to the next? It's not even game by game or half by half. They can be swashbuckling for 10 or 15 minutes and then they can be completely, erratic for the next 10 or 15.
Well, that's what I mean, because in Europe I wouldn't back you because, well, you're not really, you don't have a real history in Europe, and because last year I thought that we'd be certain to get to the final of that Europa League, and we got outdone by Atalanta. They were great in the night, and they man to man, they pressed us, and you might think you're favourite for every time at Europa League, and then until you meet them, and then it's a different game. And
I like your I'd like your perspective on this, but with the 4 teams that were left, were Spurs the one you'd want over 2 games because of how they are? They're completely. If this is over 1 game, you never know. Spurs could blow a team away in 15 minutes and maybe they get a bit fortunate. Whereas over 2 games, the fact the second leg's at Anfield, Liverpool are huge favourites for this tie.
Of course, they're huge favourite, but I think I'm not just saying this because it's you, but if I had to pick a team, I would have picked Spurs. They draw it because Arsenal would have been, with the whole title race going on, that would have been too kind of heavy of a tie, to be honest. And then Newcastle at home, we experienced it a couple of weeks ago. They're fierce at home up against the big sides.
Darren's right too. Of course, Sarr and both Madison are suspended for the first leg of that semi-final. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I Spurs are a soft touch, and not even. I think it's just the way they play, and you'll see it on Sunday. I think it's a dream setup because I don't know if you've seen Ange's or not Ange's Slot's press conference this morning. He was waxing lyrical about Ange, but I think that was for him just to not change anything. He was saying white.
I don't think Ange is capable of change, to be honest. He was in fine spirit last night after the game, Ange. Look, I mean, obviously, it's serious, and it is serious to him. But there was a question last night of does entertaining games mean something to you? And he says yes, it does, because I love football and I love watching games where there's goals in them. What was your thoughts on his pre-match interview with Sky last night?
I don't know. I think because even though he's saying I want to entertain games and stuff, but his job's to win matches. It's not to entertain. I mean, I know that's his style of playing. That's the way he's going to be forever. But I mean, you're not going to sit and then the and go, if you lose a semi-final or lose a final, and go, "Why but entertain us?" Sorry, I don't want to go for so long. Do you know what I mean? So how long can he go 4-3 every week? And because you're going to be, as you've seen this season, 1 week you're on the right side of it, the other week you're not on the right side of it. So there has to be some sort of kind of that back in the kind of aggression in every game now. Because
are you surprised if they've got those 2 results back to back? Considering they were going under this week under so much pressure that obviously the first game they completely ripped Southampton apart, and Southampton didn't really have any firepower to get themselves back involved. The Man United one, to be fair as well, I think that would have went a similar way, only for them mistakes. But are you surprised at how comfortable they found themselves 5-0 up and 3-0 up in those 2 games?
100%, because I didn't back they won both the games. I thought, I know Southampton are terrible, but would anyone have been shocked if Southampton got a draw or a result at the weekend? I don't think they would have been. Just the way he's play. And then I thought last night was a complete 50-50, or even kind of slightly edge using because you were home. But Man United, they do keep it more tight now over the last few weeks with him. But I mean, last night he shows how good you are.
They really crumbled, didn't they, as well, in that sort of 10-minute period after half time where they let Spurs run away with it in the end, because it was, even when it was 3-0, never felt like it was a 3-0 game, but Spurs were ruthless.
They must, all of United fans are saying they must have that, and then Martinez did another good game, and then I think that they bring your man Euro one as well. I think their defense was a bit disjointed, but they didn't look great last night, to be honest. But it was kind of the same against Man City last week as well. They weren't great. They just kind of stole the game at the end, which is probably more to do with Man City than it was Man United.
Yeah. Do you think these opposition teams are being sort of drawn under this madness as well? Obviously there's 2 teams playing on the pitch at the same time, and there's high scoring games, regardless if it's Spurs winning or Spurs losing. That as it difficult to play against at certain times when there's a goal last night for the United goal. Spurs had 9 players in the box. So it's you have to try and defend against that. So it's Spurs are overcommitting and they're always going to be open at the back, but they can put you under real pressure at times. So do you think, the likes of Chelsea and Man United in recent games have been drawn under that kind of crazy nature of a football match? Because we talked about Amram, how killer he's been, yet he's involved in a 4-3 game last night when really these teams are set up to be well organised.
Exactly, because it could go the same on Sunday, where Liverpool's calm and collected, but I mean, I think it's natural just they kind of get sucked into the game. You know, if the crowd's up and Spurs are up and after, and it forces Liverpool to play that past a second quicker, and it forces Liverpool to. I mean, that's what the whole thing is. You have to force the team to be quicker and make the quicker decisions. So you do naturally. I think the players do naturally kind of they get sucked. I do agree. I think they do get sucked into it. It's hard not to. I think it would take a really good team to kind of be cool, kind of collect it when you have 9 men on that. Like, but
well, I think that's going to be interesting on Sunday how Liverpool start the game, because I don't think they've been fast starters in games this year.
No, they haven't been.
And I think Spurs are quite like that. So, you know, I'm being interested to see if Slot goes out and says, look, just calm this down for 10 or 15 minutes. And then, look, once Spurs, you know, Spurs don't like a calm game because they feel a tendency I think because of the way they're asked to play and the crowd gets on their side, that it's very hard for them to calm a game down. So, you know, if he can do that, I think that gives Liverpool a really, really good chance of controlling the game. But it'll be interesting. You know, Spurs will pick up on the fact that Liverpool often do concede an early goal, or, you know, and I think that's the only way Spurs can win. I don't see them coming from behind in this game, so it'll be interesting. But, Callum, there's a lot of, you know, talk about Ange in the media, and I have to say, most of it is fairly critical. You know, Carragher last night he's been saying plenty over the last couple of weeks. Neville's been saying, but Talk Sport have been saying a lot about these tactics. I mean, why do you think there is such, you know, criticism of it? Like, even when they won, people are saying, well, you know, they could have lost that game or any other reason like that. Or when it goes well, they just say, well, let's see how they are next game. There's no real credit given to Ange. And, you know, do you think that's down to his past, you know, our leagues, or he doesn't get the respect of our managers because of where he's come from? What is it? Because there does seem to be, not an agenda, but there does seem to be a lot of criticism going his way at the moment.
I don't think it's personal against him or what you're saying there. I think it's more the people's only reacting off what Spurs are showing them. They're showing you that they can go and beat Man City 4-0 and then get beat by Ipswich 3-2. So why should they be loads of praise for it? Because you're showing yourselves that there's no consistency there. It's just basketball matches every week, and whoever, you know, one week it'll be yours, next week it'll be the other team. So I mean he's an entertainer. That's what he is. That's what he's always will be. But I think the media, I don't think it's personal. I think it's just, I think actually it goes back to as well the comparison. They mind what I call him Bielsa at Leeds, where it was just it's madness football.
It was mad, but to be fair, he didn't have the personality of an Ange in front of the camera, so there was never that real back and forth.
Also, there's higher expectations.
It's a similar style of play.
Leeds. That's what I mean. But what I mean is, I feel like that why they're probably more harsh on him is probably because it has a bit of an expiry date. Like, your man didn't last at Leeds, and he doesn't. That style of football doesn't last long. Like, I think if you don't get the players in next year,
I think Bielsa is one of those people as well. But he's very like Ange. He's very much about, you know, being a purist. You know, you remember when he let Villa walk the ball and done it. There's no way Jose Mourinho would have done that. You know, he would have just says, nah, ref doesn't stop it, we'll take the goal. You know, remember that game at Leeds and Aston Villa where he let the Villa to go up the right and score because the player was down. So I think Ange is very much on that line that he wants to win, yes, but he wants to win playing his style. He doesn't want to grind. He says last night, we'll never grind out a 1-0-1. I don't care if we forget the 11 fit players and nobody else on the bench. We're going to go out to entertain him. We're going to try and outscore the opposition. So it's a fascinating tick. And I wonder last night, because he's been under so much pressure, it seemed to be the first time for a few weeks where he's had that bit of banter with a reporter. Because over the last few weeks he's been sort of snappy, whereas last night he was kind of in good spirit.
That's because he's won. Whenever he's won, I can't remember what result it was when he's got bit a few weeks ago. He was doom and gloom, shoulders down, staring at the ground when he was doing the.
I think it might have been the Chelsea game. It
was terrible. It was like he got bad news before the interview or something. It was shocking. Like, but
one thing that's pretty consistent with Spurs is the goals they're conceding are very, very similar. They're either mad mistakes or they get done down that right hand side with Porro at the back post. That tends to be the two types of goals they concede regularly. Obviously, the Porro one, I do think that's down to the manager and the tactics. I do, you know, whilst Porro can do better, I think he's under so much pressure because he's where he's playing. And the other one is the individual errors, the penalties are given away, the 2 goals from the goalkeeper last night. You know, all avoidable. So, I mean, how do you distribute the blame there last night? Because Ange's football puts him on the position where they're 3-0 up, and the goalkeeper does 2 awful mistakes. I know he's been asked to play it from the back, But I think even Ange'S after the game, within reason, and you don't play passes that aren't on. That's not what they're being asked to do. So, if Spurs had lost, if I had went to penalties last night, to 3-3 and lose the game, Ange would have took all the flack. But, if a player makes mistakes like that, is there really nothing you can do as a manager?
Sometimes sometimes no, because I looked at the Chelsea game as well, and it was like them individual errors, but is that because they're tired because they've been asked to run flat out? You know what I mean? You can look at it, you can critique it on the nth degree, but
I think Ange is on the 2 penalties against Chelsea. Sometimes he thinks the players get suckered under the atmosphere and the kind of game they're trying to play.
So is that not to do with the manager too, because of the way they're playing?
Well, he tells them don't stop for 90 minutes, isn't it? There's no breathers.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. It's a constantly, they don't get a minute. They think that's why they're diving in and they're making rash decisions, which is a detriment to them. But it's 50-50 because if a player wants to go out and smash him, but it's not to the manager. So it's hard. And then with Porro, I don't think he's a great defender. I don't think anyone thinks he's a great defender, but he's good going forward. And then, as you say, with the Liverpool side of it, we've been talking about Trent for how long now, but it's all about when Klopp said in the press conference, I'm telling them to stand there. So it's not like if the right hand side's open, it's to do with me, not him. So it's kind of, it depends what way you want to look at it, really.
One thing that I have to say, and I know I've been quite a supporter of Ange, and that's not to say I'll be a supporter in the summer if things don't improve, but I do think he should get this time to the end of the season. But one thing that I would say is when Spurs had injuries in the past, when they even might have been one player, mustn't like a Harry Kane. If Kane was out, Spurs were in trouble. If Son was out, Spurs were in trouble. He has done quite well at managing the squad with probably, you think back to the Pochettino squad, Walker and Rose were probably better than Porro and Udogie. Alderweireld and Vertonghen were probably, as a pairing, better than Romero and Van de Ven. You had Dembele in midfield. You had Dele Alli, he burst on the scene. Eriksen, in my opinion, is more consistent than Maddison. And he had a peak Son and peak Kane. So he had actually a really good starting 11. He probably didn't have the squad. It's very similar to now where I think Spurs have a decent starting 11 without any real world-class player. You could say maybe at the moment Kulusevski's playing really, really well, but I don't think he's in that bracket yet. But are you surprised? I mean, he's done quite well at managing that. You think this week they 15 fit players, and then Udogie gets injured, so they're down to 14. And they've had tough games. Southampton away was a pressure game. And then, that game finishes at 9 o'clock on Sunday night. They play United with a quick turnaround. Virtually the same team plays in the game. And United had that extra couple hours rest as well. But, he's done quite well. I think what he's done at Spurs. Spurs don't rely on any players. I think his system, he seems to get the best out of the attacking players, regardless of who plays.
I think the last few results has kind of just shifted the last 2 minutes of what you said there, because if you had lost them 2 games, you'd say he didn't do well. Do you know what I mean? So I think, but way in terms of
I think even the Chelsea game too, there was a few players. I know Van de Ven was back in and Romero, but they both went off injured. But even for that, for where Chelsea were, I think a lot of people expected Spurs to get smashed in that game, and it was quite an even game, I thought.
I do agree, because you had the likes of no wonder Conte when he finished 7th and Kane scored 30 goals or something, and he still came 7th, and it was just diabolical. Whereas, as you say, no matter who's on that pitch, you're going to be out firing no matter what. Like, so I do have to give him credit for that. But I mean, you're always going to miss your star men, and then we'll see. But even when the defenders come back in, you're still playing games that are 4-3 as well. So that's the other side of it.
Yeah. Be interesting to see how Archie Gray is on Sunday, because I know they could see the 3 goals last night. I actually thought he was brilliant. The 3-goal nature of the game was really avoidable. It was two goals the goalkeeper has fall for. But I thought he actually done quite well. But obviously a different test against Chelsea. And I think we'll come on to United but when we're doing the predictions. But that's the one thing that was really confident about Spurs winning last night was United just don't have the firepower. They make you feel feared of them, whereas Liverpool on Sunday's a completely different animal. But first thing we'll do, or last thing we'll do on Spurs before we move on to Liverpool, Callum, what do you think Spurs fans should look forward to now in 2025? Because the year's almost over. There is the League Cup semi-final to come. They've got an FA Cup game against Hamworth, which despite it being away from home, it would be a travesty if they didn't beat them. And of course, they're under the next round, the Europa League knockouts. They probably do need at least 4 points from their final 2 favourable games. They finished in the top 8, but they're definitely going to be in the playoff at least. So, it's not all doom and gloom, because I think because of the nature of the league this year, if Spurs were to somehow shock Liverpool, and then beat Forest on Boxing Day, they could find themselves in the top 4, and everything looks great. But it's just the way this season's gone. So, what do you think Spurs fans should expect in 2025 other than this chaos?
It's madness. Like, you can't predict it, really, can you? I don't. Well, sitting here now, I don't think I get top 4. But if you get your players back and you go on a run, maybe. But then,
it's looking like 5th place might actually be enough as well.
Well, if you might get 5th, to be fair. But then, look, the way we've talked about now for 20 minutes about Spurs, that you got 1 month they can lose the other, so it's hard to kind of pinpoint whether or not they're going to finish top 5 in that league. Your best moment might be in January when you play a semi-final, because I'm not sure I'll get much better than that. The way his football.
I actually booked that semi-final last night, so I'm going to that game. So very good one.
I think you're probably suited the cups, where it's a bit madness. Anything can happen. The crowd's up for it, and it's a kind of they're one-off games more like. But then in Europe you've the 2 legs and stuff. But FA Cup you'll be getting through that hopefully, and then I don't think you'll beat Liverpool. I'll be shocked if we got beat over 2 legs. To be honest.
You know what? See, usually you do prefer to be at home second in these ties, but I think it's better for Spurs to be at home first, because if they go to Anfield and get beat 3-0, the second leg's irrelevant. They're not going to turn that around. I think Spurs nearly won that first game. They have any hope of doing anything. But you know what will be fascinating? If Spurs were to if Liverpool would even rest a couple of players in the first game, I'm not sure if they will or if they do. But if Spurs were to somehow go to Liverpool with a 3-1 lead, obviously Liverpool fans would still back themselves to turn around. But it'd be interesting to see how Ange went about it. Would he tailor his approach for that game if they were in the lead going into it? Well, it would be a big call to go to Anfield with a lead and decide to walk it out from the back with Liverpool's crowd on their side, like, so that would be interesting.
But there's no way. I think you would die in a sword. They would be all, why would I change it now? Do you know what I mean? I think that's what I'd say. We'll see.
But it should be a good tie. Let's talk about Liverpool, Callum, because we were all. I mean, I was convinced after they beat Man City that they're the new favourites for the league. I think things have worked against them since. The fact that game was called off, they played a game less. Although the fact the conditions would have been tough, maybe it'll work in Liverpool's favour come February. But unfortunately, now they've got they're always going to be a game behind the teams they're travelling with. Of course, the red card against Fulham's gone against them. And the Newcastle game, to be fair, they could have won that game a 3-2 up as well. You'd have fancied them a 3-2 up, and they conceded a goal at the end with a mistake from the goalkeeper. So things haven't gone that well for them since. So all of a sudden now it's only a 2-point lead. It's probably unthinkable, they think, when they beat Man City, that they would lose. A team would make 7 points on them in the games there was there.
I know, but you weren't going to win every game. I didn't think that we'd won every game. I mean, you're playing. It was Man City, Newcastle, and who was the one at the end?
Well, that's fair enough. But I think you would have been surprised if I says after that game you could be kicking off against Spurs in second place that day. That would have been
that's more to do with the fact we didn't play a game. But do you know what I mean? But I mean, it's not as if we've lost that game and the points difference is down. We're still 5 points clear if we won. But I'm still really positive on Liverpool. I mean, the 2 games that we did drop points on, Newcastle and Fulham, I thought we were excellent. Or the first half, Newcastle were terrible, but on the whole, and against Fulham, I thought we were excellent. Only went down to 10 men. We didn't lie down. We could have easily lost the game, or in the end, we could have won it. But what I'm saying is, we could have lost the game 10 men. I mean, there's no guarantee we're going to go back and get the point then. But no, I think they said today there's only Bradley and Kante's out there. Everyone else is fit, so I'm confident. I still think we're favourites.
Yeah, of course, this is a huge game on Sunday. Chelsea do play earlier on Sunday, so they could go to Goodison Park and win, and of course that means Liverpool would then have to win. They get back in front of Chelsea. Even a draw, they would still be sitting second on Christmas Day on goal difference if Chelsea already won. So it's a big game because they think that they were top after beating Man City by 9 points. I think to be sitting second on Christmas Day would be a real downer. Obviously, you would still be. You're very much in it. You're only going to be a point or two behind at max. But you would still feel that from that position, we've completely surrendered our advantage, and all of a sudden now it's with 19, 20 games to go, it's a shootout in terms of we've no advantage anymore. So I always think when you have that advantage, you want to try and keep it for as long as possible. And the fact that if they were to not win on Sunday, it would be completely gone. It would be not a worry, but it would be just one of them downer feelings.
I nearly hope we are second at Christmas because we never won it when we're top, to be honest. But look, I don't think Chelsea will go all the way. I don't think the push is all the way. I think Arsenal
Well,
will
I
end up.
think that'll be a hard game for them on Sunday because Everton have got that
I,
resilience back.
I don't think Chelsea's. I think it's well documented as their defense and their goalkeeper isn't good enough. They remind me kind of that 17-18 season in Liverpool. They just can score goals for fun, but they'll concede 3 or 4 as well. But I think they might do what we done last year and kind of they might hang around the April or March and the results might just go against them. And I don't fancy them.
I'm
They push us all
surprised that
in.
so many elements of the media are praising Chelsea because when I watched them that day against Spurs, I never thought I was watching the champions or the potential champions that day because, like, for all those, I know Chelsea, they were 2-0 down, give them credit for that, they battled back. But, Spurs had about 5 big chances in that game. Well, the 2 goals and about 3 other big chances in the game that you wouldn't expect a title winning team to be giving away. And I think just ultimately they ran a team that were going to give them more gifts than they were going to give the opposition, and that's why they won. I didn't think it was an outstanding Chelsea performance, and I think their record on the bigger games as well still leaves you thinking, are they capable of beating the best teams? So I think there's a lot more for Chelsea to prove than Liverpool, but I think this could be a big weekend because Liverpool will want to get that one on feeling back in the league, and whatever way you look at this game, it's hard to predict because Slot will come into the game. Obviously, he's well prepared, and we'll speak about some of his on-game management in a moment. But you just don't know what you're going to get from Spurs, so it's very hard to plan for. Because I don't think Maresca planned for a 4-3 game, and I don't think Amarin planned for a 4-3 game. So
no, I
Spurs,
agree with that.
as we spoke about it earlier, Spurs can turn it into a basketball match as just like that.
It is quite hard. I know. I would say both things really because you could say that it's hard to plan for, but then you also know it's going to be about madness, so you can kind of prepare for madness if you know it's coming. But I seen like an article today in the Athletic that I think it was the Aston Villa game or one of the coaches were saying that Salah changed that many times and tactically during the game that they don't know how to keep up. I mean, apparently he's just unbelievable tactician. So you look at that and go, can he pick Ange apart on Sunday? And I think he will. To be honest, I think Liverpool's just too experienced. Like
the one thing I think that might be slightly in Spurs' favour now, as opposed to playing Liverpool a month ago, is they're starting to concede goals, and Spurs are a magnet for goals themselves. So, this Liverpool were rock solid up until a month ago, if you remember, and then they conceded 2 at Southampton, 3 at Newcastle, 2 against Fulham. So
I would say that's more to do with defensive injuries with Kanate and Trent.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think Kanate been out a big loss for Liverpool because I think that partnership them two have is pretty solid. So without them, I do think down that right side are a wee bit vulnerable. And that's where Son will be playing. And I think Son on his day, I think he's on decline, but I think on his day he can still produce moments. So that's the one thing I think that Spurs will be hanging on to is Liverpool have been a little bit less consistent in their defensive approach in the last few games. And I suppose you have to factor in the 10 men in the last game, but they're 1-0 down. And that game with 11 men as well. So there's definitely going to be opportunities for Spurs as well. So at all points, they're a high-scoring game, Callum. I think Slot's tactics are going to go out the window a wee bit in this. I think they're just going to have to try and outscore Spurs. Not that they'll be as lack of discipline as Spurs, but I do think it'll be very much games at times you'll get spells in the game where it's end to end.
I don't think they'll get another game like this the whole season because obviously at Anfield it's a different game. So like I think this game specifically, they might get wrapped up on it. I do think we'll win. I think our experience and our players are obviously better and our coach is better. But I mean, the Spurs go 2-0 up and 3-0 up in 20 minutes. You're stunned, do you know what I mean? But what do you do then? Like, but
well, this is fine. Are you stunned anymore? Because I think teams will go, even though we're 3-0 down here, this team's letting lead slip.
Oh, well, that's true. I agree with that. I would still be sitting there going, I think we can get a draw or a 1 with this still. But
I think if the team's 2-0 down to Liverpool or 3-0 down, they give up. Unless, like they are right, and I know there was a lot of changes. You seen being 2-0 up, though, it can rally. In Southampton could easily got a draw the all night, and it goes to penalties, and Liverpool right. I know it wasn't the same players, but I think goals do change games, even when you're so comfortable. And I think that's what can happen. And that's why you have to be consistent for 90 minutes. But, I mean, we spoke about it there, Callum. The in-game management of Slot's very impressive, especially in that Fulham game. He you could see, I think he says after the game, he tried Gapco at left back and he changed it after 5 minutes because I think I put it up in the chat to use. I says if they don't change this at half time, they're gonna get me out of this game before half time. And he actually done it before the halftime whistle even went. He done it literally a few minutes after he put him there because I think there was twice he was caught out and he was trying to play offside in his own in the Fulham half. So obviously it's not his fault he doesn't play there, but he was quite good at doing that. And I've seen the piece that Henri did on him, where they were outnumbered Fulham at times, even with less players. So it was really well thought out, and you have to give him credit for that.
Look, I think he's a really, really good manager. No one really expected or knew what they expect before he came in. Everyone knew Liverpool had a good team at the start of the year, but they didn't really give him a prayer because they didn't know how this was going to work. And it could have easily went the other way. You lose a few results and the players playing for him and all the rest of it, whereas it's gone the complete other way. They've won nearly every match. And he looks really, really impressive. He can change a game tactically, as you say, on the fly really, really well. And I think he has got the better of near enough every manager he's went up against this year. So I think he'll be rubbing his hands for Sunday because he knows it's going to be it's Christmas and you love giving gifts. You'll be giving us gifts all day Sunday, I'm telling you.
What was I going to say there? One player that's obviously got attributed to chaos is Núñez. You think this is a game for him on Saturday?
He won't play.
There's ever a game for him or something Sunday. Sorry, this is the game because Spurs high line without the piss of Van de Ven. There's going to be opportunities there, and it's a type of game he could get 4 or 5. So he not necessarily might need only one.
Well,
so this might be a game for him.
I don't think he'll play because he played 90 minutes on Wednesday, and even if he did get 4 or 5 chances, he'd need 9 or 10 to score the 4 or 5. Do you know what I mean? So that's probably the best game.
And I think this is that Liverpool could be the benefiters of this. That Spurs have had 2 big results this week, and they're going to go again with the same team. And it's hard to keep doing that when especially when you've had tough, pressure on you, and they run that battle last night. Even though they won that game, I'm sure there's mental trauma there after what happened. The fact that they were in such a comfortable position and nearly went out. That maybe Liverpool will be the benefiters of this, because it's going to be the exact same team that played. There's no one coming back. I think Udogie, he says today, will be back, but other than that, it's going to be the same team. And you wonder fitness, legs, even mentality. How can they go again for a third time?
Even any boys that you would say might start on Sunday for us, anyone who played on Wednesday that would start for us, they didn't play the full match apart from Núñez. That's why I don't think he'll play. He played the full match. The rest of them, Trent went off, Robertson went off, Gakpo went off.
Owen saying there, he thinks Jota will start. What do you think the front three will be? We know Salah playing the right, and then the other one's in her, but you don't know what we'll do.
I'm not quite sure. Jota does pro. I don't think Núñez will play. It depends how fit Jota is. If Jota's fit, I think he plays because at the start of the season, when everyone's fit, he's starting 11, and the front three was Diaz, Jota, and Salah. But he does like rotating Gakpo and Diaz. So like Gakpo played on Wednesday night too. So probably Diaz, Jota, Salah, probably the front three, I think, on Sunday.
A lot more firepower than what Spurs have faced in recent weeks.
None of them played on Wednesday night either, so
they don't need to they should be fresh, shouldn't they? The one thing we keep talking about on here, Cal, I know you haven't been on, but there's this contract news. Every podcast we mention it because there's still no news. But is it going to be? You think it's going to be a Christmas present? Do you think they're delaying it to Christmas Day, or what are you hearing? It doesn't seem at the moment that it is close. There has been rumors of stuff, but it definitely, there was news weeks ago that Van Dijk was done and it was close, but we've not really heard anything since. Salah, Trent seems up in the air. Are you expecting any news before Christmas or around Christmas or before the New Year?
No, I think it'll be New Year. I don't think it'll be done. I don't think they're done. I think the last update that we got off Ornstein was that they've all been offered a deal, but none of them have been broken through yet. So, I mean,
what do you think? Go ahead, sorry.
My stance on it is I think they'll all sign. I said it from day one. I think they all will.
What do you think the hold up is?
Hold up, it depends on the situation. The two other boys, Van Dijk and Salah, is, I would imagine, the length of the contract. Liverpool, I see all this talk about money. I don't get it at all because Liverpool for the last decade since Klopp's been there have never lost out over a player over money. See whatever money they want, they'll probably get it. It's just the length of the contract. And then Trent is different because he's younger. I mean, he's Real Madrid knocking on his door, which is hard to get him
Well,
down. But
see the length of the contract, right? For me, that's the biggest issue because if it's money and it's 100 grand, you can meet somewhere in the middle. Unfortunately, you cannot meet in the middle with a contract. You know, if it's 2 years and they want 3 years, you're not going to give them a 2.5 year deal. So I mean, one of them has to, either the player or the club has to balk, and I just don't know, how that be sorted out.
The only thing you can do, say you want 3 years, Salah wants 3 years, give them 2 with an option to extend for free the third year then or whatever. But I mean, they're going to want the guarantees.
But the problem being there is it would have to be. I think it would have to be stat led or bonus. If you score so many goals, because if it's an option for Salah, he's just going to extend it anyway if he's in big money, and if it's an option for the club, there's a chance that Salah could get shafted. So I think it'll have to be incentive based.
I think Salah's current contract, and I don't know from good sources, it's heavily incentivized. So if he had all his bonuses, he's on nearly $500,000 a week.
Spurs have an option to extend Stone's contract for another year. His contract's up in the summer, but they do have an extension. But there is certain people in the club that think maybe it's time to cut ways this summer, and I think Son's been quite upset about that. He feels that he's probably earned it like Salah. He's done a lot for the club. Obviously not got the trophies that Salah has, but he's contributed quite a lot. He stayed when Kane's gone. He probably feels that he earns that all year. Just goes to show you, there's no real loyalty in football, is there?
No, definitely not. It's a business at the end of the day. They're all kind of, they're all like self-employed, or not self, like they're all contractors. They're just there to do a job, and once you're not doing a job anymore, you're out the door. That's as simple as that. But I think with the 2 older fellas, I think they'll get done because they don't really have many options. Well, many top options. I'll probably say that every club wants them, but I mean, who's going to give them a 3-year deal if that's what they want, for example?
In about 12 days' time, technically, those players don't have to be having any more discreet talk. I'm sure Trent's had talks with Madrid anyway, behind closed doors, or his agents. It's probably his agent. Mostly these agents and representatives do all the speaking for them, and that's probably the issue, is they know what they can get and they know what they're worth, and the players just have to respect that. But in terms of, there's nothing to stop next week or 2 weeks' time from Trent flying to Madrid himself, and it comes all over the media, and he can go and negotiate if he wants. Is that the danger now that come the 1st of January, Liverpool have lost that sort of, I'd say they've lost that first option of being the team that they can negotiate with. That's gone from January the 1st, obviously excluding English teams. But, I think if these boys leave anyway, they'll not be going to our English team anyway. So, if they do leave, they're going to be going elsewhere in Europe or Saudi, America, wherever they go.
From what I've read, all 3 of them have been talking to Liverpool and Liverpool only. They've been respectful, is what I've read from Ornstein and stuff, where especially Trent. I mean, he obviously might have had conversations, but what he's saying is I want to see how he plays out at Liverpool first, and then if there's no agreement, I'll talk these in. But I mean, I think the only worry is Trent. I think the other two's done, not done, but you know what I mean. I think it will get done. Whereas Trent is
just the one thing that will worry me as far as Liverpool fans, just the time it's taking now. It just seems to be dragging on and on and on. I think sometimes the longer these go on, sometimes.
See Carragher putting out articles today about Trent and all, and he put a warning. He's all, it's different if you're a local lad. It comes with a price leaving and stuff. Do you know what I mean? He does ruin his legacy if he leaves on a free. That's unforgivable. But people blame a club. People blame him, but I would blame him.
Let's discuss one of those players. Salah, of course, been Liverpool's star man, probably been the best player in the league this season, and probably has been in the top 3 for the last 4 or 5 seasons. He rarely falls out of that because he's so consistent. I think this season definitely is going to be a great shout at winning the. Has he ever won the Player of the Season?
Oh, aye. He's won twice.
Has he? Well, yeah, I think maybe. Well, he could be in with a bigger shout at the Ballon d'Or if Liverpool were to be successful in Europe too with these numbers he's putting up. But obviously, there's that worry that he could get injured. But do you think Liverpool fans just need to, if the game is tight and Sunday and you have Salah on the pitch, you always feel that he can come up with a big moment as well. So there is that trade-off between obviously being reliant. And I know how you feel because, Spurs had that with Harry Kane for a number of years, whereas you always felt in a tight game he could make a difference because he was a magnet for goals. It's a bit like a same with Salah, of course you'd like more goals from elsewhere, but having this man's just a trump card, really.
It's just like, I know he's not as good as Messi, but it's like having Messi in your team. That's what it feels like at the minute. You're just, no matter what situation you're in the game, if you're a goal behind or it's 0-0, you just feel like give Salah one moment and he'll win the game for you. And I mean, you can't put a price on that. Like,
one question I was going to ask you is, obviously I know Spurs are a very different team, but why do you think a lot of Liverpool's games are very tight? It's been the Bayer Leverkusen and it's been the Old Trafford, but there has been a lot of one goal victories, even when they're massive favourites for a game like Southampton. Or I'm trying to think of other teams, Palace. Trying to think of other ones off the top of my head here now. Brighton, I think Brighton they beat big O. Obviously Forest beat them, but what do you think a lot of their games are tight?
I think it's tactically, and then the other side of it is the rest of the fellas don't really chip in that much with goals. I know Diaz had a frightening start, but he hasn't scored a league goal since September. Yeah, I think this is his season to kick on, and he hasn't really done it. He had a brilliant start, but that's about it. I think it's 5 league goals this year, and he hasn't. The last one was in September. Jota's been injured. He's always good for a goal if he's fit. Nunez is a lost cause. I mean, two league goals all year for 80 million. It's just, he's finished. Gakpo's been good in the cups. I think he's our top goal scorer in the cups. He scored some big goals in the cups too. He got us free against Brighton, scored against Leverkusen, scored against Madrid. So I think Gakpo's probably our second best attacker this year, to be honest, in terms of output. But
I know you laughed at me at the start when I backed Solanke, but obviously he would never sign him back. But I do think he would be tailor-made for that Liverpool team because of the way he presses, the way he runs, the way he moves, and even his finishing last night was 2 brilliant goals he scored. And I do think he's getting more and more confident. But I don't think he's ever going to be a world-class goal striker. But I think
I know, but I'd rather him over Nunez.
Aye. Because I mean, I don't think Nunez scored them 2 ones that he's put in last night, to be honest.
No.
Probably we'll see. I think this is Nunez's last chance, really. I think by the summer, I think it'll be time up, but it's what Liverpool can get for him then, and can they move him on? But as we're just predicting the future here, actually, with Nunez. Final question, Callum. Same question I asked you earlier with Spurs. What do you think 2025 is going to look like for Liverpool? Because at the minute, it's looking like it could be a very good one. Of course, last year, 2024, sorry, this year, but it'll be last year very soon, started off brilliantly with a cup one, but they weren't able to follow it up. Do you think this Liverpool team have more chance of picking up more trophies this season than last year?
Definitely, aye. They're more, as long as injuries don't do them in, they're more tactically sound. Klopp was more closer to Ange's than kind of Slot would be, whereas Slot's on the other end of it, where it's more, no way. He's 2.5 years on, then we pay 80 million for him, and he scored 2 goals this year. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's him taking a hand or not, but
the other one tonight, I think that's keeper really helped them out. Like, I mean, if you ever needed a goal, that was it.
But even in his own general play, he looks like you're playing with 10 men. There's no cohesion at all. There's no link-up players.
Nothing. He gives the ball away quite a lot, doesn't he?
In terms of Liverpool, I mean, barring a disaster, we're starting it off with a League Cup final. So that's a final in his first year.
No, you'd expect to be Liverpool Arsenal, wouldn't you?
You would expect so. So
that'd be a big game. That'd be a big game. So I think we were speaking about this before. Arsenal's recent record against Liverpool's been quite good. So Liverpool, I think they beat them in the FA Cup, but I think Arsenal probably should have won that game anyway. But I think in the league, Arsenal have kind of reversed that form that Liverpool had for so long against Arsenal. They were they were beating them stupid. I think even at the Emirates they were going there and won them 3-0 at times. But I don't know, Man City were doing that too, and they've kind of won that battle. And their record, I think, against the top, I think I've seen some. They haven't lost against a big 6 team in the league for 2.5 seasons.
Wow, that's an incredible record, to be honest. But it's more to do with his style too. He doesn't really. I mean, he has more defenders on the pitch than the 2 teams combined, nearly. To be honest, he doesn't really attack games as much as he probably should with the players he has. But that'd be a huge game if they got to the final with them. With the Emirates. I mean, be a tight game. There's a tighter probably at that stage.
That'll be big because I think I do think Arsenal are Liverpool's main rivals. I really do, even though there's a bit of a gap there. I do think that they're, unless Liverpool kick on again and go on a massive winning spree, I think if it's going to be they all week they draw points. And I think Arsenal are capable of maybe closing that gap, but I just think with Chelsea, I think it's probably a season too soon for them, but we'll see.
Look, Liverpool's favourites for every competition at the round to win it, but it doesn't always pan out that way. Like, you know what I mean? It's a long season. If you're playing every game, we've done it before. We've played every game, and you go to the wire, and you don't win every game, man. And it's psychologically it's tough to keep going every week, and then if you get injuries, it's even worse. And then on the flip side of that, it could be a bad 2025 if them boys don't sign contracts. I could flip it on its head if they're all signed to a different team by February. Do you know what I mean? So I could throw a spanner in the works too. But look, it's looking positive. It looks like there's a final coming if we can beat Spurs over 2 legs, and then we're favourites.
I was actually speaking to my dad about this last night. It just seems that every year Spurs have a decent cup run. They meet all these teams. All these big hitters have good seasons too. Like, we can never seem to, have a good cup run when there's an opportunity. Like, I mean, they beat Man City, beat United, have to beat Liverpool, and then possibly have to beat Arsenal in a final. I mean, I think if Spurs were to won this, it would feel like one in the Champions League because of the teams they beat.
I have an incredible achievement, to be honest.
And there's actually never, ever, ever in the history of football been a domestic North London derby final. So
I've been incredible watch. They've been kicking the legs of each other for 90 minutes.
Yeah, because I do think if they somehow find a way past Liverpool, it will be Arsenal. I don't see a situation over 2 games where Newcastle beat Arsenal.
I think Newcastle too have a couple of suspensions for the first leg, Bruno and somebody else. So,
but then again, the way Arsenal are doing it too, you always feel that you're never going to be out of a game.
The only thing is too the 2 legs are a month apart. So, I mean, you could have injuries.
That's interesting because I was actually, me and my dad were speaking about that, thinking if Spurs could somehow nick a 1 in that first game, and then get Liverpool with a fully fit team in the second leg.
That's it. So even if you kind of, I think for Newcastle and Spurs, it's surviving the first leg and then getting a few boys back from injury and going.
Well, see, that's it. I think all the pressure's on Arsenal because you wouldn't want to be going to St James's Park, needing a result because I think they've done Arsenal a few times, in the last few years there.
And they beat them on the last season too.
Yeah, so that will be interesting.
I mean, if it was a Newcastle or Spurs final, I'd be good for the neutral because 2 teams that don't really want anything.
I don't think that was Spurs, got on with all that pressure on. They probably won as favourites.
They probably won as favourites, and then it's 2 teams that are afraid of winning trophies. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure who'd want to win it.
I think either way. Do you know what? The one thing I would say as for neutral fans is, the semi-finals will be good watches. January time there's no European football on, so I know. Well, to be fair, there was this year at the back end of January because of the new league system. But in terms of that first week of January, you're going to get after Christmas, you're going to get 2 cracking games. So all to look forward to. Callum, before we go off, we've got about 12 minutes left. We're going to fly through the weekend's games. And I'll tell you what, there's some big games this weekend, Callum. I'll tell you what, it starts tomorrow. If Newcastle can get away from Emirates 1 or 2-0, I think if it was 2-0, it'll be lights out, to be honest. But it all starts tomorrow, and we haven't had a 12:30 kickoff for a few weeks. Callum, you'd be glad to know as Liverpool fan.
That's because Liverpool weren't available.
But it returns tomorrow. Villa Man City at 12:30. What a game to start the Christmas weekend. I think this is going to be absolutely brilliant to watch, just fascinating. I think it's a bad game to have when you're on a run of form like Man City or Villa have definitely improved in recent weeks, but I think they were sucker punched at Forest. I just don't know. Villa, I know they won them games against Brentford and Southampton, but I don't think they're great to watch. And I think, remember that the first sort of season Emery come in, and even the season last year, their defence was kind of very, very good, and they were very good at catching teams offside. That seems they have completely deserted them. And I think his system's all about catching teams offside. And when it goes wrong, you've seen it go wrong at Arsenal, and it went badly wrong. So even though Villa have come through that wee sticky spell, we know 1 in 8 games, I think there's an opportunity for Man City here. I don't think Villa are all the rage.
I would agree, but I seen Pep and I saying Diaz out for a month, and they have more injuries again. They just never answer Man City at the moment. I think as a draw written over it because I don't think that'll be some final. I don't think that, as you say, either team are firing. It might be a cagey game. I know Man City will be in no confidence at all. I was never a fan.
Do you know what? We'll not take a break. We'll come back to that prediction. Just so somebody's asked the question there. I thought it was really refreshing this week that there was no VAR and you even seen I think Solanke's first goal, he was onside, but it looked a mile offside when he put it on because of how it went. He looked like there was nobody near him, but United players just didn't react. He was actually onside. But I thought Solanke kind of looked across and waited a second before he celebrated because he's so used to the VAR. And I thought it was really, really refreshing this week. The fourth goal for Spurs, it could have been a foul, but I think the goalkeeper's got to be stronger.
I think goalkeepers are far too protected, to be honest. I think it was a perfectly good goal. I think the way the commentators were speaking, they thought that the Berg thing was to handball it, but he didn't handball it, and then they were saying he impeded him.
And I know Arsenal got an offside goal. Fair enough, but I mean, it wasn't blatant offside. I mean, it was. I think his head was offside. But I think he just accept.
I'd be happy with that. You know what I mean? It's tight and it's 50-50 and they got it wrong. And
the one incident that probably needed VAR the most, and I'm still not even confident they would have sent him off, was the Kwanzaa one. I think that's a foul, but I still don't think it's that blatant and obvious enough that VAR would have got involved there. I really don't.
Because at the time I thought it was a red card, but then I'm not he does go down quite easy as well. And because the referee didn't give the red, would they've overturned it? I don't think they would have overturned it if the VAR was there, to be honest.
Well, I actually said to my dad as well. I says, "Oh no, we're going to the Spurs Liverpool game," and then he was saying, "Happy days, no VAR." And I was like, "No, the VAR comes on. They play in the semi-finals."
I know you can't catch a break. No, I thought it was a red at the time, but I think I'd love to have a no VAR. It's so within 2 seconds if a goal's given or not, and you're not if they wouldn't, you can celebrate it. Because I think that ruins kind of half the joy when you're winning.
What's that though? Especially around the game, and see the nature of the Spurs games because there's high line and all. There's always tight offside, so it's you'll be waiting for ages. I remember that Spurs Chelsea game, the 4-1 game. There was about 20 VAR checks in the game. They were finished.
I've been texting you there. You're like, "Is it on? Is it off?" And I'm like, "It's off," and they're still going.
But that's it. Well, come back to the game. Sorry, you were saying Man City have a lot of injuries, so you feel that it's a lot of opportunity.
I think it's an opportunity for both teams because of what you said about Val as well. I don't think both teams are firing. I think it's a draw rotten over because Man City, they don't get beat bad. Even in their bad runs, they haven't got no teams, from what I can remember, no teams battered them, have they?
Spurs hammered them.
I suppose that's true, actually. Spurs hammered them.
But I know what you mean.
They're not. There's not usually tight games. 12:30 to about early in the morning. Do you know what I mean? I would go for probably
early in the morning. Early in the morning's getting out of bed at 6:30 or 7 o'clock and going to work. 12:30 kickoff is not an early morning game.
For the players, you know what I mean? They're up early and they're not, and the crowd's not up front and no one's drinking. And do you know what I mean? But
it's Christmas. I mean, if people can enjoy a 12:30 at Christmas, then they'll never enjoy one, will they?
No, that's true. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
I do think it'll be quite tight, even though Man City are in a bit of a mess. They keep the ball that long that for most of the game the opposition doesn't have the ball. But be interesting to see how Emery goes about it because I do think they'll sit back and counter attack. I think he's a big decision to make with Duran. I think he has to play. I think he's going to work back up on Watkins, but just have a feeling they'll bring Watkins back in. But I'm going to go with you, just not as high scoring. I'm going to go 1-1 draw as well. Only 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday due to Europa Conference League with Chelsea, and of course Spurs and Man United both played last night, so their games are on Sunday. So Brentford against Nottingham Forest. Brentford they're probably the most consistent team in the league for results in terms of when they play at home they always win, and when they play away they're always beat. Forest are a dangerous opponent though. And I know Brentford, a lot of Brentford's home games have been against teams and around their level. They haven't played anybody of a big name at home yet, but that when you're winning at home and you get that feeling, it breeds confidence. So it's a hard one to call. This actually,
that's a really tricky game there because Forest are, from my memory, good away from home this year. They've got some big results against us and
United.
I know Man City beat them as well. To be fair, but
they beat Liverpool, they beat United away, and they drew with Chelsea away.
So they can go but I think it's a different game when you play, as you say, when you play and teams around your level. Whereas Forest go to a big 6 team and they know they can sit and they can wait for the break. But Brentford will be confident because I don't think they've lost a game this season at home, have they, or even drew one?
I think they drew one and won the rest.
So I mean they'll be confident.
And one thing they've been doing at home actually is they've been scoring a lot of goals. They've been hitting 4s and 5s.
That's really hard to call, but because they're good at home, I'll just go for a Brentford one because I think if they score, it's one end games, and look, if whoever scores first probably wins the game. To be honest,
a Brentford one, they blow the top 4 is wide open. I'm going to go as well with Brentford. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brentford one. Ipswich against Newcastle. Ipswich, of course, got that big one against Wolves in the last minute that seeing Gary O'Neill sacked. And Newcastle are another funny team this year. 1 week decent, next week not so great. I think Newcastle are a team. If Isak's on it, they're a real threat, and if he's off it, they just don't look anywhere near as good. Because I think Isak brings Gordon into the game, he brings Murphy or Barnes into the game, and they look a different team when he's at himself. Ipswich's results have came away from home. They've won away at Spurs and won away at Wolves. Haven't won at home yet. Because it says Newcastle aren't great travellers, so this is an tough one they call.
Very, very tough one to call again. I'd still just edge at Newcastle, but as you say, if Isak's not on it, then you don't know where the goals are coming from. I mean, Gordon was flying last year, double digits in goals and assists overall in the league. I wanted him at Anfield, but he just hasn't really done it this year. I know they've had.
Have you relaxed your opinion about him? You not think that maybe?
I still think he will be a top player. I think if he had him, I don't know if his head's on it this year. Maybe an explanation because there was loads of reports in the summer that it was like an open secret in that England camp that he was going to Liverpool. I think
he seemed to enjoy it when he scored against them, but
of course I know. But they signed a new contract too, so I don't think he will go now. But I think his head might have kind of dipped a wee bit, but I think he's still a quality player. About the game, it's wild hard to call because they will go at home the crowd and whatever, but I think Newcastle just have too much for them. I might go 1-0 I think they might just nick it.
I actually fancy to be quite a low scoring game too, but I'm going to go for a 1-1. West Ham and Brighton is the final 3:00 game. Brighton or West Ham's bogey team. They haven't I think they've beat them. I've seen that they 1 out of 14 games against them. So Brighton, for whatever reason, seem they love playing West Ham. But I have to give West Ham credit because we have given them a lot of stick on here, and I thought against Bournemouth, it was one of their better performances this season. And Bournemouth can be really hot to handle at times when they're at themselves, and they certainly were. And Fabianski had an unbelievable game and goal. But I don't know, with West Ham, 1 week you're not convinced, and then other weeks you go, maybe the manager needs a bit more time. But I think a lot of the West Ham fans have checked out with this manager, to be honest. And Brighton, I have to say, their start has been whittled away with some poor results.
They don't really keep a clean sheet, Brighton. So if you're a West Ham fan, you're thinking you can get at them.
I mean, Palace really blew them away. They could have scored a lot more.
I don't think they're a hard team to beat at the minute. I think the form they're on, they're conceding goals every week. But for West Ham, I mean,
I think there will be goals in this game, to be honest.
There's definitely goals in this game. I'm going to go. I think it's going to be crazy. So I'm going to go for it's not on TV. It's a Saturday 3:00, but it could be a cracker. 3-2 Brighton, because you mentioned they're the bogey team.
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I know I keep picking draws here, but I think a lot of these games are quite hard to call. 2-2 draw. Huge game for Arsenal at 5:30. Palace, to be fair, put up a bit of resistance the other night, but Arsenal's subs from the bench really changed the game. And they went on. They won quite comfortably in the end. I know Nketiah scored, but you never really felt at that stage Palace were going to get back into it. But that goal might give Nketiah some confidence, and he might find his way back into the team for the game on Saturday. And I think when you're a club and you've got a player that it didn't really work out for you, and he scored against you once, and you play him again that weekend, there's always that feeling that maybe it could happen again. And I think Palace at home, they Palace away is a completely different Palace. You know it's going to be tough there on the lights, and they have a decent record against big teams there. And if they do lose, it tends to be tight. So definitely a tricky game for Arsenal.
100%. I still fancy Arsenal, but I think Palace near enough like their starting 11, whereas Arsenal didn't. I forgot Sterling even signed for him, to be honest, and they played him on Wednesday night. It will be tight because Arsenal, I think the way their results have been going the last few games, it's been draws or 1 goal in it. So
That's it. Arsenal haven't won now for a few games in the league,
No,
so this is a big one.
I fancy Arsenal, but I think they'll Liverpool on me. I'm
Do
gonna
you
go.
know how shameless Arsenal fans are? They're gonna, if they won, they're gonna be cheering on Spurs on Sunday.
Uh,
That's how
um,
shameless they are. They're gonna be
I'm,
cheering on
I'm gonna.
Spurs.
My head says Arsenal. I'm gonna predict a 1-1 draw.
Because when they lost the league last year, Arsenal, they blamed Son for it. They actually blamed Son. They didn't realise the fact that they had 38 games that season and weren't good enough. They blamed Son for his miss.
Jeez, no, I'd hit to lose out. I'm not even a Spurs fan. I don't like Arsenal either. I think they're insufferable. Hey, so I could go 2-1, but I think Liverpool may have to go 1 each and set us up for a big gain on Sunday.
I don't think this will be a great watch. To be honest, I think Palace will be very defensive, and Arsenal don't move the ball that quick. And I think they'll double up on Saka. And I think it could be a classic Arsenal set piece, 1-0 to the Gunners. I think 1-0. Sunday. Now this is quite interesting. There's 4 games kicking off at 2:00. So says there's more games kicking off on Sunday at 2:00 than there is on Saturday at 3:00. I mean, that has to be a rare one. I don't think I can't remember that ever being the case, to be honest. But all these games kicking off at the one time on Sunday almost feels like Sunday will be a Saturday. Of course, most people are off work, so it almost feels like a double Saturday this weekend. And I think this will be the pick of the 2:00 games. This isn't on live; it's Fulham Southampton is live, but this may be the pick of the games based on where Chelsea are in the league. And I think Liverpool fans will definitely be keeping an eye on what's happening here ahead of their game just afterwards. So you look, Everton were leaking goals like a colander at the start of the season, but they've really stopped the leaks. And all of a sudden now Everton seems like a really tricky game, especially away from home. And they're the type of team that can grind you down and nick a goal. So this will be a real test of Chelsea's character, I think.
I think who was watching was the character. It was like, I know Everton's down at the bottom of the table, but hard place to go. They've kept a couple of clean sheets. Chelsea could go there and
I think they've got a pretty good record against Chelsea, at home as well over the last few seasons. They beat them there last year.
If Chelsea could go and won well on Sunday, I think that would give them real confidence. They kick on. I know they haven't really lost a game the last few weeks, but
I think they've won their last 5 in the league, so this would be for 6 in a row.
Exactly. So I think that would give them loads of confidence if they can go. It's funny in games because obviously Everton's not. Remember, it's not a Liverpool away or anything like that there, but it's a notoriously hard ground to go to, tight pitch. The crowd, Everton need every point they can get. That's a really tough game. Hey? No, I think there'll be goals in it because I think just the way Chelsea they play, it lends themselves to goals. Their defense isn't that good either. I'm going to go for a Chelsea 1 because of the form they're on. I'm going to go. I think a bit tight. I'm going to go 2-1.
I'm going to go the other way. 2-1 Everton. They're going to get sucker points there, Chelsea. This would really surprise me. If Chelsea were to go on 1 here, I would say, obviously you don't base it off one game, but I think this would be a big moment for them coming through this game. I think they could Fulham at home and Ipswich away after that. I know Fulham have been decent this season, but I think at home, Chelsea are really strong now. They found that one in feeling at home. I think Ipswich away, they'll win easy. And I can't remember who they have after that, but I think it's favourable as well. I know the first weekend of January. So I think all of a sudden they could go on, they run 8 or 9 wins.
Maybe Brentford, I can't remember.
I'll tell you now. But I think if they were to come through Christmas, won all their games, and you're getting on the very close to double digits on a run, I think that automatically you're on titles when you're winning games the way they are.
I think that's just a really important fixture for them on Sunday, to be honest.
But I think equally the danger is Liverpool have a nice run of games over Christmas as well. You've got Leicester at home on Boxing Day, West Ham away. I think there's no real fear factor going to West Ham anymore. Obviously, United will be a big one because it's United, but I still expect Liverpool to win that. So, Chelsea away to Palace. So again, look, could be tricky, but they don't have any big hitters over Christmas, so I think this could be their toughest game. If they were to win this, it would definitely give them a real confidence booster going into the new year. Fulham against Southampton is your live game. Southampton employed a new manager today, Ivan Juric, the former Roma manager. He only lasted 2 months in Roma. He'll be hoping they last a lot longer here. And Fulham, we know, are having a good season. I always think teams like Fulham, they surprise you and get results. And then I think when the pressure comes on them, now everyone expects them to go and beat Southampton. Will they be able to follow it up? Because they run a great run of games before they played Wolves at home a month ago and got beat 4-1. And that was unthinkable at the time. So Southampton's an hour somewhere game where they're heavy favourites. Will they deliver? So I think Fulham are at themselves. They won this game, but who knows?
Nah, I think if the new manager's on there before Sunday and he sets them up, it might be
Well, do
different.
you think Southampton are doomed anyway? Do you think they're
I,
unsavable?
I just don't think they score enough goals, Gareth, to
I
be
think they're
honest.
9 points behind already, so that's
They don't score enough goals. I mean, that's obvious. Like that's obvious, but I mean, I can't see them Fulham being that troubled. They might score one goal, but I don't see
I
them.
think
I
that's
don't.
right. So that's the issue for Southampton. They have to win 3 games just to get level with the next team. And by the time they won 3 games, how many will them other teams? So I think Southampton probably have to win 78 of their last sort of 22 games to stay up. And I just don't think that's possible.
They don't have like a no way you said they got smashed 4-1 by Wolves. They don't have like a Cunha or they don't have boys that can kind of give you a moment. They don't really see it on them. Nah, but I'm gonna go 3-0 Fulham. I think it's gonna be. I think they're finished.
I'm going to go for 3-1 Fulham as well. Another new manager, making his debut on Sunday. Wolves travel to Leicester. Vitor Pereira is the new manager at Wolves. Of course, Van Nistelrooy's not on the door long, but if it was a great start against West Ham and a draw against Brighton, it was a real humbling against Newcastle last week. And I have to say, Leicester, I think, are very fortunate they have the points they have. I think they've been battered in most of their games, and they've had a bit of good fortune go their way. But I think this is a decent start. I think if Wolves, or maybe having this game at home or having Southampton, I think this is a perfect opponent you would have picked for your first game. And I read a stat that this man at every club he's been at has won his first game in charge. So he tends to be somebody that gets a result early. And I do think Leicester is an opportunity for him.
I don't think Leicester won this game. The only thing I would say is I think Cunha might be banned. I don't know if he's out. That's a game.
And Al-Nuri.
I think Aitner definitely because he got suspended, didn't he? The yellow cards. Whereas Cunha, like he had a bit of a spaff off a pitch. But if Cunha's fit, I fancy them because I think he's their best player.
Hello, Salah. How are you? I'm happy you're watching too. That's probably nice you told us.
I think if Cunha's fit, they won the game. Or not fit, that he's not banned.
I think he might be banned. I think Al-Nuri's banned as well.
There's no decision yet on it. I think he had until yesterday to respond off FA.
Oh, he might get playing then.
So there was no word of it. The only reason I know that is because he's on my FPL team. I'll try and.
I'm still going to go with Wolves. I think they'll
I'm going to go for
1-0. I'm going to go.
I'm going to go 2-1 because they concede too many goals.
40 goals they've conceded already, and
there's no way.
Like 18 goals from set pieces. That's absolutely crazy.
There's no way
they've played more. They're conceding more than one a game, I think, from set pieces.
No, they won't keep a clean sheet, but I think they'll win 2-1.
Man United against Bournemouth, and I have to say, Bournemouth have enjoyed playing Man United over the last few years. They tend to have their number. I know Solanke. I remember the game last year. Solanke ran them ragged. I think he scored 2, and of course, I think they put up some. They scored 5 against United in these last 4 games. He loves playing them. But of course, Bournemouth I don't think they're missing Solanke. I think they've replaced them well. We have Nielsen, and they've got all our players in there, and they're a really, really good watch. It'll be interesting to see again how this game goes because will Bournemouth go with the team on the front foot here? Will United be playing counter-attack? Because I think if United try to take the game to Bournemouth, they could get really, really punished on behind. So it's going to be an interesting watch this one tactically.
I think this will be a tight game because I think both managers are good managers. I just can't see it being like last night where it was open for Bournemouth. I don't see it the way. I think it might be the Man United game might be more like it was on Sunday against Man City where it was a bit more
tactical.
A bit more tactical and it's not much giving it away.
Well, I think Amram was on his knees at times last night. He couldn't believe what he was watching.
I know. I think that's the Spurs way. They suck you in, don't they?
That's what Carragher says. The contrast of the two managers that the game they were watching. Ange's was stamping his hands in his pocket, breathing it in. Probably enjoying it, and Amram there's tearing his hair out and he's on the ground.
It's like welcome to English football, kind of. It's really, really hard to call that game.
I'm gonna go 2 each.
I think Man United are going to win. I think I'm going to go 2-1 Man United. I think I've done a while out of 2-1s. 2-1 Man United.
I don't think you've predicted a 3-2 in there, so maybe not. But will the final game of the weekend be the one with the most goals in it? Do you think? Spurs against Liverpool. This is, I think, logic would tell you to back Liverpool here, but we just don't know what you're going to get with Spurs. If it's the best version of Spurs, I think Liverpool will be in a proper game. If it's the one that's self-destructing, then I think it'll be a really, really tough afternoon because Liverpool aren't the type of team that's going to pass up these opportunities. So I think Spurs need to be near perfect here. They won this.
As long as our opportunities fall to Salah, will be all right. Or Jota, if he's playing. I mean, I know like Spurs on their day, as you say, are like me electric and all the rest of it, but I don't, as a Liverpool fan, I don't go into the game feared. I mean, you might give us a tough first half, but even if it's 2-1 or 2-0,
I think Liverpool will win. Like I do.
I
I think
don't
it'll be
think
a lot tighter than what people think.
I know it might be tighter, but I don't think say you have a great half hour, great 45 minutes, and it's 2-1 or 2-0. I don't go on the half time going, that's a game done. I'm going on the half time.
I have a wild feeling Liverpool's going to win it late enough, as well. A late goal. I think it's going to be 2 each, and Salah might win it or something at the end. Not at the very end, but near the end anyway.
I don't think it'll be as tight as what you're saying because I think he's number one, your keeper's terrible. And number two, he's given away too many gifts. It's 3 to 4, it'll be 4 days before Christmas, and I think he's going to hand out a few days slot, to be honest, because these are.
I definitely think Spurs will score at least 1, if not 2.
Do you want to know the prediction? The prediction for me is 3-1 Liverpool.
I'm going to go 3-2 Liverpool. Just.
3-2.
But I have to say, the last time I predicted
Spurs could be 4-1.
Last time I predicted Spurs loss was Man City, and they won that game 4-0. So maybe this is a good thing. But look, I still think anyway Spurs have won this week anyway. They come through Southampton, they come through Man United. Not that the pressure's off slightly, but I think
as long as you don't get bit 4 or 5-0, you'll be all right.
Do you know what I think the main thing here is, as you say, don't come out with an embarrassing defeat and don't come out with any more injuries.
That's
down to the bare bones. The bench last night was ridiculous. There was 4 youngsters on it and 2 goalkeepers.
I agree. You've got 3 or 2 kind of important fixtures. I don't think this year's an important fixture because no one expects you to win.
4-2
Liverpool. Look,
if it was a 4-2 or a 4-3, like I mean that would just tell you that every team that's going to be playing Spurs now, its game plan's out the window because Liverpool don't get involved in games like that.
Exactly. As you said earlier on about Chelsea, you said you don't think they're like a title winning team watching them, but if Liverpool are the same, whereas Liverpool concede a couple of goals, you're going, what do you think about them?
I think Spurs need to be near perfect all over the pitch, and they've just got too many mistakes in them. I think even if they were the better team for a spell at 20 minutes, they'll give away a goal, they'll give away a penalty, or
you just
I think Liverpool don't make any mistakes themselves. They'll probably win this.
As long as I think if we don't make any mistakes, we'll come through with a clean sheet and all. Because
I even think a Liverpool score first, it'll be game over. I don't see Spurs coming back.
Nah, you didn't. 100%. I'd be.
Well, if they start strong and get themselves 2-0 up,
aren't any no kind of red cards or anything no crazy that you wouldn't predict. I think I'd be shocked if they lost this match. Like,
eventually they're going to learn how to manage these games, but because if you can go 2-0 up every week, you're going to win more games than you fucking lose. Like, surely.
Of course. Well, you'd say that, but if your manager shouting at you, they put 4, 5, 6 men up, you know what I mean? And the 85th minute, there's one goal.
If Spurs somehow won this game, it would be an incredible fucking week because they have so many injuries and players missing, and they go out with the same players 3 times in a row. What they have,
as you say, with the media, I don't think they'd be given that much credit because who do you play after us? They'd be going, they'll probably lose that one. Do you know what I mean?
I actually think this is a complete mismatch in terms of quality. Cause I don't think any Spurs player on Sunday gets under this Liverpool team. Maybe Kulusevski, the way he's playing, but that's the only one I can think of.
No, I don't.
Maybe Son on his reputation, but again, I don't know.
I wouldn't take any Spurs player at the minute, but if Liverpool turn up, I think it's just a.
How worried would you be if Spurs did win this game? The fact that Spurs are going to have a midfielder playing at the back and a goalkeeper that can't pass a ball.
I think it would be a disaster. To be honest, I would be annoyed. You can look at it 2 ways. I think it would be a disaster, but you can also look at it and go, as you said earlier on, Spurs suck you in, and you can write it off as a one-off. But it'd be, especially if Chelsea go and 1-2, you'd be absolutely raging if you lost that on Sunday.
Right, Owen sent Paul Tierney on VAR. Referee for this game, Sam Barrett. Surprised he's got it, because he's a very young and experienced referee. I think you need a big name referee to handle these games. Like, Just where I would worry about him freezing in the big moments.
Well, they done it last year.
That's right. That. Well, Callum, it's been brilliant having you on. Really good insight there. I'll see you on Sunday for the game, of course. So enjoy Christmas, enjoy the New Year, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Sunday for a good pint.
You too, lad. Look for cheers for having me on.
And thanks to everyone that commented tonight. That's us back now, full time. Sickness is over, so we'll be back on before Christmas doing the Boxing Day show. And we'll probably be going through all these results, of course, focusing on Spurs, Liverpool in particular. But as I says, if you're new around here, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more content. We'll see you very soon. Callum, top man, sir.
Cheers, thank you.